morning, everyone that is connected to us this morning across the globe. And let me start by saying compliment of the season. Or I want to come to my local dialect to say Happy New Year and welcome to the year 2025. It's from the 16th president of our great institute and the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. We want to appreciate all our followers who have been with us in the year 2024, following through to our understanding of what taxation is all about, being guested by professionals, practitioners, and also academicians to enlighten us on some of the activities that we have in taxation, knowing fully well that it's strategic to the growth and development of our nation. And we want to appreciate your participation and also being there for us this particular day. This is a program approved by the Governing Council of our great institute, and it comes up every first Thursday of the month to enlighten you on the activities of our institute and also the development in tax practice and also the activities of the government as relate to taxation. I remain your host to start the program today, Olusesan Okwade. I'm not here alone, I have my co-host, Dr. Ayodeji. Glad to have you this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be back again. Compliment of the seasons to our members, our viewers, and the stakeholders at large. We're happy to be here, and this year will be wonderful.
Very well. That is the word from a doctor who is giving us a prayer to start the year this morning. And we have come to discuss a critical issue with you, knowing how important it is to individuals, corporate organizations, to the government, and our institute too. And we'll be talking on the topic we have captured, annual tax filing return with subnational, the compliance and the associated benefit. And it gives me great pleasure to have in our midst in person today. He has not sent a representative. He said, I will honor the invitation to give an explicit explanation to the topic of discuss. And it's no other person than the executive chairman of the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, my own big brother, Mr. Ayodele Suba, FCTR. Good morning, sir. I'm great to have you here this morning. Okay, thank you very much. While we work on the technical things, I struggle to hear you, but I will proceed with some of the questions that I have for our guest today. And I want to start, sir, by saying that can you please give us an overview of the current compliance rate for this annual tax filing in Lagos, using you as a focal point for other subnational. And I want to consolidate with it that as the implementation of this digital tax filing, has it in any way in the LIRS impacted on the compliance rate? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me now?
Very well, sir. You proceed, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're basically talking about the statutory obligation to file tax returns. The Personal Income Tax Act deals with this, and everybody constitutionally is expected to file their annual tax return. For employers, employers are expected to file the H1 between the 1st of January and 31st of January of each year, while individuals are expected to file between the 1st of January and the 31st of March of each year. Everybody is obligated to file. So while employers file in January the H1, on behalf of all the employees, they usually would file all the incomes, allowances, and all the requisite information they are expected to file. But we must remember that this will largely relate to employment income only. So the individuals are expected to also file their own annual return through the Form A. Now, while the employers have filed their employment income, they are expected to file their global income, which will include other things in case they're involved with trade, for instance. They're expected, if they have investments, they have dividend income, and so on and so forth. All global income is expected to be filed by all individuals. But somewhere along the line, I think we dropped the ball. When I was training a few decades ago, it was sacrosanct. You had to file your return. We had a tax manager in the firm I practiced with, and you were sanctioned if you did not file. It was compulsory. But somewhere along the line, everybody started to rely on their employers filing for them, while all the individuals, business promoters, entrepreneurs just practically stopped filing. And it was tolerated for so many years. But there's been a renewed effort to try and ensure that people start to file, because tax filing is really the bedrock of tax administration. It is a starting point in us gathering much needed data. And if you file voluntarily, which we expect, it reduces the amount of arguments and reconciliation and tension and challenges that will come on the issue of filing. So generally, I would say without any hesitation that there's higher level of compliance by the corporate bodies, i.e. the employers. Employers file, perhaps because they are directly our agents, so through the powers of agency, we're able to monitor them closely and sanction if they do not comply with the tax laws. So in Lagos, I would say without hesitation that the employers have done very, very well. We have a very, very high compliance rate. Over 95% of employers of labor actually file in Lagos State. And that really makes our work much easier. When it comes to the individuals, the story is not the same. A lot of individuals still do not appreciate the need to file. Some argue that my employer has filed for me already, so why do I need to file? But where they get it wrong is that the employer has no knowledge of their global income. So they are the ones who can actually, declare their global income. That's one side of things. The other side of things is that in the area of sanctioning and enforcement, the hands of the tax authorities are really tied. Because if it was a straightforward situation whereby we can find non-filers, perhaps compliance rate would be much higher. But we have to follow rule of law. We are guided by statutes. Taxation is about law, and no responsible tax authority will act outside the law. So to enforce, we need to take non-filers to court. And that's, what the Nigerian court process is like. That could be very long. But the work of the Presidential Fiscal and Tax Reform Committee involves how to improve the tax culture generally. So there are some provisions that are going to largely aid many of the tax authorities in increasing the compliance level.
Permit me to interject you there, because we are still coming to that area where we are done. But to round up maybe this my topic, what is the impact of the technology introduction? What impact does it have in compliance level, before I give the room to my co-author for the next question?
So that was the next line I was going to take, that to help improve the level of compliance, the LIRS has done quite a bit, leveraging on technology, thinking that this would ease the ability to comply for taxpayers. So what we have done, so about 6 years ago, we first introduced electronic filing. So we looked at it that what can we do to minimize the cost of compliance for taxpayers? What can we do to improve the efficiency of the tax authority itself? Because operating manual systems, it's very laborious and very tedious. So we first introduced it. We had all our teething problems, but generally the the rate of compliance improved slightly. Since that time, we have introduced an end-to-end tax administration solution, which is the e-tax. So under the e-tax, you can actually do a wide range of tax activity. You can self-register from the comfort of your home. You can file your return. You can generate tax assessments. We are also integrated with payment channels. You can actually make your payments simultaneously as you're filing. You can print the receipts for your payments, and you can do other things, including printing of tax clearance certificate. So this has really, really helped because people do not have to get up. People do not have to go to tax offices. They don't have to interact with any of the LRS staff. They can simply just interact directly from their homes. So there are all sorts of challenges that come with this. Digital literacy is there. Access to internet is there. But by and large, we make life very easy. Even if you cannot file from your home, every tax station, and we have close to 40 across the nooks and crannies of Lagos, you can actually walk into any tax station, and every tax station has an e-tax champion, somebody dedicated to attending to taxpayers who may require their help or assistance in a wide range of activities. So they can actually help register, log the taxpayer in. Of course, the passcode is unique to the taxpayer. So when it comes to inputting the passwords, our operatives simply just turn to the other side, allow you to put your password so that the integrity is maintained of security. So we have made it very easy for people to comply. Along with it has come a wide range of education, because there's no need having that facility if people do not know how to use that facility. So we invest a lot of time. So I think I'll just stop there and wait for your co-host so that you don't take all the questions away from him.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, you have technically responded to our second question. You have mentioned the compliance rate up to 95%. We're happy that things are improving. And you also mentioned that individually, that is where we're having issues in terms of complying. So that made me skip that next question, which I will now go to the third one, which exactly, sir, so that we can move very fast. So I want you to know this is about tax incentives and support for taxpayers. How does the LRS assist a small and medium-sized enterprise in fulfilling their tax filing obligations to LRS? And I also add this, is there any plan enhancing taxpayers' education awareness campaign to further increase this success rate we have seen so far? And do you also intend to collaborate with the institute so that the bottom line, which is the IGR of the state, can be further increased? Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So, like I said before, one of the ways of easing compliance has been for us to leverage on technology. So, like I also mentioned, along with that technology, we need to instruct and teach residents of Lagos how to take advantage and use these systems. So aside from that, we have a wide range of consultation amongst various sectors, including small and medium enterprises. We attend a lot of fora where we plan to educate people who attend. Again, we do a lot of collaboration with associations and professional business bodies, including a highly revered CITN. We collaborate with the institutes. We collaborate with associations like NECA, like NASIMA, like LCCI. We have meetings with these bodies from time to time. We have meetings where they invite their various members who come and interact with us, and they field a lot of questions. They want they want more knowledge on how to be tax compliant. So we on our own part, we have to train our staff very well so that they can interact with members of the public. So we do a lot of internal training. It's like training the trainers. So we train our staff who equally then impact all this knowledge on residents of Lagos. So aside from directly going out, we have a unit called TEETS, Tax Education and Enlightenment Team. They go out, go to different businesses on the high streets, on different back streets of Lagos. They walk into many businesses, and the whole idea is to inquire as to their ability to comply, to register. They ask them for the issues they have, and they try to overcome all these issues. So going digitally, we also have a lot of social media handles, including Instagram, Facebook. We are on all the social handles. And we throw a lot of material, starting with our own LRS website. It has everything you need to know about taxation and how to comply. So we have videos that we have put out there to allow people comply fully. We have jingles on the radio, on television. Then we have a flagship media program called the Tax Talk. And regularly on Tax Talk, we take residents of Lagos through compliance issues. So we have a very, very wide range. We have workshops and seminars, and the whole purpose of this is to spread the culture of taxation, just like both of you are well known to do. So these are, you have a reputation. I'm very happy to be on this program. I've had the privilege of watching a couple of them in the past, and I find them very educative and very enlightening. So I'm happy, of course, to share some of this expertise on my own part with all the viewers. So these are some of the things we do to enlighten members of the public.
Thank you very much, my executive chairman. If you are just joining us and you marvel at the man that has actually been giving us an insight into the topic of discourse for today, which is the annual tax filing returns with subnational, the compliance and the associated benefit. We have the privilege of having the executive chairman, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, our own Mr. Ayodele Zuba, a member, a senior member of this particular institute, a strategic partner to the growth of our institute, who has contributed immensely to the growth of it. If I go back to where we started, sir, which will give me an inroad into this next question. You spoke about two aspects of taxpayers when it comes to this return, the corporate and the individual. And it's been on record that we have over 95% compliance rate on the part of the corporate organizations, which are the employer. I know the area we are speaking to is the informal sector. But before I ask this question, I want to give kudos to you and your team. The drive you have given to informal sector. I have this to say, you know that I will not flatter you. I'm everywhere. Your representative has been a major driver of informal sector globally, attesting to the success that Lagos State has registered. And on this note, I want to ask this question that what are the challenges associated with harmonization of tax filing across subnational? Knowing that if you ask me, you know, Lagos and the neighboring states, maybe in the next 5 years, we'll find it difficult to know whether they are two states or just one state. What are the challenges associated with harmonizing this tax filing? I won't want to go to the area of the tax reform because I know that is a contentious issue. You may not be able to speak to, but I know based on the fact that you have worked seriously on the informal sector with your team, what are the challenges associated with this for the subnational, even the local government people?
Okay, thank you very much. It's always a headline topic, talking about harmonization of taxes. It's very necessary to harmonize taxes because at the end of the day, we want to create an enabling business environment for all businessmen. We do not want them to face unnecessary tax burden. So a large part of the work of the Presidential Committee is this harmonization of taxes. Every federating unit has that problem, basically. So in the wisdom of the military government, they had the approved taxes and levies decree or act subsequent to that at the time, which streamlined and recognized the fact that there are three tiers of government: federal, state, and local governments. At the federal level, the FRS is supposed to administer taxes for companies. At the state level, all the state internal revenue services are expected, things that they administer the taxes for individuals, while local governments are largely supposed to be collectors of administrative charges, levies, specific charges for specific services. So there's always a running battle across all states. But it shouldn't be so, because constitutionally, it's written out for us. Statutorily, everything is well defined. So the whole idea now is to see how we can harmonize and have just one tax code. When we have one tax code, people do not get surprises during the year. Everybody knows what is expected, what he or she is expected to pay. Businesses know what charges to expect. So we're looking forward. In Lagos, for instance, we have built up a tax code. Unfortunately, it's not gone to press yet. It's not been released publicly because we were fine-tuning a lot of things, and then the issue of the tax reform committee came, and since there are so many changes that are expected, we decided to hold on to it. But largely, we were thinking of how to ease business and to make tax predictable. Tax is supposed to be predictable. You're not supposed to be in your office and suddenly a van of 10 policemen come into your business to disrupt your business. That's anti-business. And that is surely not the principle that our beloved governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, he doesn't intend to run the state. He wants Lagos to be a mega city. He wants Lagos to be comparable to any other city in the world. And most of all, he wants fairness for all the residents of Lagos when it comes to payment of taxes or payment of administrative charges. But members of the public have a big problem distinguishing between taxes, levies, and administrative charges.
Yeah.
So everybody just says, Lagos, they tax too much, and make all such statements. But the truth of the matter is that if Loma gives you a bill, it's for refuse collection. It's a specific service that they are providing to you. But everybody just says tax, 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 without knowing what we only administer. We're a very responsible organization, and we only administer only about 5 different taxes, that have been assigned to the states to collect. On the side of local governments, they too need to generate revenue. But while most of the chairmen are very largely compliant, a few, in trying to be creative, come up with certain charges, but maybe they do not name them properly. The word tax somehow finds its way into it. And everybody gets confused and starts to complain. But all this will be a thing of the past. When the tax reform bills, which we are very positive will go through, it might not be in the present form. Definitely when there's debate, there's got to be negotiation here and there. Some things will be removed, some things will be added. But at the end of the day, it is strictly going to harmonize. At the moment, we have about 60, 70 of these charges. Yeah. But it's going into single digits. At the end of the day, it will not be more than 9. So residents of Lagos are very excited at that prospect. And we will continue to make sure that we adhere to that. We also have our own internal mechanisms, which we're honing in readiness to ensure that we all obey all the laws very, very strictly.
Thank you very much, my executive chairman. And one take home for me there, for people that may not know you, is the human face. Aside you being chairman of Lagos Internal Revenue, that you give to businesses. You said you are not out there to kill businesses, but to make them to grow. And that's why you are streamlining it. And I can tell you, because I relate with a lot of people and as a public person, that you set the pace for others to follow. And we expect that much more will be delivered. If you are just joining us in no distance time, I will be opening the network for us to ask a question from the EC on the topic of discuss today. And I'll go to our chat room to pick 1 or 2 company questions from there too, so that we can do justice to it. But I want to state there, since we are at the middle of it, that this program that you are hearing requires sponsorship from you. So you are out there and you want visibility from your program. You can hear from the executive chairman that even though you may not trace him on the platform, he listens to some of this program, and you can never say the big wigs that will be listening and also patronizing your product. So you are welcome on sponsoring this program so that we can educate, enlighten the people on the issue of taxes, so that we can distinct that thin line between the administrative charges, the taxes that are accorded to the state, and we can have it. Ayo, I yield the floor to you for the next question.
Thank you very much. You have said a lot on technology, and we can see the result of technology in what we do in Lagos Internal Revenue Service. But sir, I want you to further tell us what you have in mind in terms of emerging technology such as artificial intelligence, blockchains, and the likes, to enhance monitoring, compliance, and more service delivery to our people in Lagos State. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for that question. You're a doctor, so I expect such questions from you. So there are a lot of issues that you look at. What is the level of digital penetration in our economy, for instance? These are things that you cannot shy away from. If that level of penetration is low, then there's got to be a conscious effort not to introduce things that look like going to the moon. So we are very mindful of the emerging technologies. We embrace in our own way artificial intelligence. If I said to you that we have already deployed blockchain technology, then I'll be telling you stories. But we have these in view. We have been, for about 4 years now, we've been researching into how we can key in to get the benefits of artificial intelligence. So, for instance, if you log into our eTax platform, there's a chat box. This chat box is largely powered or driven by artificial intelligence. You can ask a lot of questions. Even it can predict some of the questions you want to ask, you know. So we have embraced it, but not to the level of the developed economies. But we do recognize that it has a lot of benefit. For instance, in deploying certain tools, in deploying ability for predictive analysis, for instance, artificial intelligence is very, very important. It can help us predict to a large level of certainty the revenues that we're going to collect from the different divisions of Lagos. Quietly, we have been deploying some of these techniques, and we are still working on it at the back end. When we are ready, we will fully come up with these things. Another area it can largely help us will be in the area of probably risk profiling, because we have to profile all our taxpayers. We have to compute the level of risk so that we can deploy techniques on how to mitigate against all these risks. So we have quietly brought these things on. Under our eTax platform, for instance, we have a model that deals with tax audit. You know, within the tax audit, there is some trace of emerging markets tools that are there. So over time, we will come up more with definitive statements, but we are certainly doing a lot of research in that area. Anytime you get the opportunity to talk to the head of our IT unit, you know, he can go into a lot more detail regarding that, but we certainly have it on our sites. Now, for you to even deploy AI effectively, you need big data. You need to have the appropriate data sets. You know how we are in Africa when it comes to building data. But I'll tell you for sure that amongst all the subnationals, we are not doing badly in terms of building. We are building data. For instance, if you go to your eTax account, you can see your tax history for practically the past 20 years. You have a statement, you can print the statement, and there are so many things that you can interact with. So this is part of the technology that we are deploying to the benefit of Lagosians.
Thank you very much, my executive chairman, for a deep insight. I was rolling through some of the comment of the participant, and he said, I have never witnessed my executive chairman of LRS speaks eloquently like this. I'm sure the person just drive to Lagos. He doesn't know my big boss. That if I give him the whole day here today, it's Sheson and Oga Zubaru. We will definitely give it. So, and you're on top of the game, we must let you know, and that is impacting on the revenue being generated by the state. On this note, I will open our line for few people to ask questions. And like I said, these questions border runs on the topic of discuss. I'm at will to interject you if you go far beyond what it is. I'm sure a lot of people knows how I manage that. So before I do that, let's raise up our hands electronically, and let me just welcome one or two questions while I copy, while I get some other questions out there. Technical team, please let me have access to some of the people raising up their hands. Please just give us your name and give us straight to the question. Don't worry, I've already thanked my guest for today on your question. Let me welcome Bukola Akimoladun, my own sister. Please unmute and ask your question. Mrs. Akimoladun, please unmute and ask your question.
So very much. As usual, my brother, the man behind the mic, and my brother from another mother, our chairman, I can testify to the giant strides and steps being taken by the Lagos State Internal Revenue Services as a practitioner and as a taxpayer. But like they say, the reward of hard work is
more
good
work.
work. Yeah, it's more work rather. So we'll keep on improving to ensure that I say our best is we'll keep being the best. We keep moving on. So on that note, I'd like to say that the payment platform has been very encouraging until recently when it was changed. And this current one that we have, especially for corporate organizations that have to go through multiple layers of approval before you can make payment online, you can't use a card because card is not accessible. And then to do transfer, before now you could do transfer and come back. But right now, this platform you have has only one bank, and that's not flexible enough. So we need to ensure that we have all the banks on this payment platform. It's a third-party platform, which also makes it more expensive than what we had before. I think we need to look into that. That's one. Number two, sir, if I'm not speaking too fast, because I want to maintain the time allotted to me. Number two is the fact that we need to work more on speeding up with tax audit exercises. The area where tax audit happens, and 1 year, 2 years later, is yet to be concluded. It's not very encouraging. We need to do better on that. And number three is also on the area of continuity. When one staff goes, another staff takes over the engagement, and you are made to submit all the information that once, maybe twice, or even 3 times have submitted. In this area, some of them still insist on you coming physically to have meetings. I think we need to work better on that. That could be in Port Harcourt, that could be in Abuja. We now have borderless workplaces. And so Lagos State also should ensure that people are helped to do their jobs better. I think I would like to stop on that. So I'll give room.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Akimola.
Thank you very much.
I was about interjecting you too, so that we can give room for other people to ask their question. So my chairman, okay, please, you help us note them so that we can take them together. So that
it's good. Can I probably just address some of these issues?
Okay, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, Mrs. Akimoladu is a regular customer. You know, when I say regular customer, you know, she has a very, very big mind of inquiry. And there's usually hardly any fora that she's present that I know that I have to put on my thinking cap, because she's straight to the point, and she does ask a lot of questions that really we also need to have some introspection on to see how we can, you know, listen to her and try and improve things. So on the issue of payment platforms, that is a big problem, not just for taxation, for commerce generally across the country. Yes. So on the part of Lagos State, by extension LIRS, we try to put on our platforms as many payment operators as possible. So one thing you cannot run away from is that there are costs involved. Even the payment operators, they are not doing their work for free. They need to charge. So we have in Lagos a constant problem the accountant general who is charged with this responsibility has a hard time trying to negotiate transaction costs with all the various payment platforms. Ordinarily, what stops us from putting up to 100 payment channels on our platform? What stops us is the attendant transaction costs that will be there. Many of them do not provide any free lunch. They want to charge. And we look at it from the perspective of, if it's the large taxpayers who are, paying large amounts, they might be able to absorb some large transaction costs. But majority of the people are usually small businesses and individuals. They cannot afford all these transaction costs. So that's a limiting factor, for us. But also, we have a lot of collecting banks. We have a lot of banks on our platform. And increasingly, we have a lot of fintechs that are also on our platform. But from time to time, Nigeria happens to them. They have all sorts of issues, operational issues that come up. Recently, some of the banks were migrating on their platforms.
Their new platform.
Everybody saw what happened. So we are totally oblivious. We're totally aware of all these issues. And trust me, Lagos is trying we're trying all the time to ensure that, we have the appropriate payment channel. It's very important for our business. We're in the business of collecting money. So we need to make it very fluid for everybody. So we take note of that comment. Now, she also mentioned the issue of tax audit, which is one area that gives us, a lot of headache. So the blame works both ways, both internal and external. But most of our problems are more external than internal. So part of what we did, especially during the COVID era, we came up with this online facility whereby members of the public, tax companies who want to reconcile their tax affairs were allowed to upload all their documents. So I'm surprised that Madam has spoken about people asking them to bring documents. We have that facility which she can avail herself with. All she has to do is upload her documents, and it will surely get to the respective officers. In terms of continuity of staff members, as much as we try to control it, it's also outside our control. Everybody has witnessed all the Japa syndrome. A lot of people migrated abroad. You can't stop them from migrating. It's a free world. But what we try to do is to retain the knowledge. And how do we do that? We ensure that our documentation is up to speed. There's a lot of documentation, except some people want to be mischievous. The repository is there for the data, so there should not be any problem in terms of continuity. But with all the audit tax reconciliation exercises, we have a minimum number of people who must attend every tax meeting. We want fair hearing. So the taxpayer has to be represented. The consultant of the taxpayer has to be there. The various units within LRS must be present. So we don't want to be accused of unilaterally deciding issues. Everybody must be there. If everybody is not there and a quorum is not formed, we cannot proceed. And most of the time, it is the consultants that create most of the problems that we have with tax audit. They intervene, they come behind the backs of management, they go and have private discussions with members of our staff. We are trying to put a lot of internal controls in there to prevent all these things from happening. But there's a lot of frustration, which is why there are a lot of open files. But trust me, we are attending to this issue of open files. If I could give her a profile on how we close files, and we start from 15 years ago to 10 years ago to 5 years ago, we're certainly moving a bit faster than we used to move. And even at our strategy sessions, both in December and continuing in January, this is one major topic on the front burner. So we are going to do everything possible within our means to try and close files as much as we can and as fast as we can and as efficiently. But the key thing is that it has to be equitable. We cannot force ourselves on taxpayers. We don't want to take money that is not ours. So we must create and leave that listening air, no matter how long it takes, so that things are resolved once and for all. And we don't have to start going to appeal sessions or going to the high courts. So please tolerate us, Mrs. Akiboladu. We are working on it.
Thank you very much. I'm sure she's the spokesperson of the concerned practitioners who has brought this before you, sir, and a very good way to actually address the concerns on behalf of the practitioners and even the taxpayers. But let me quickly state this announcement that this is a bumper harvest to start the year. We normally welcome like 500, and that's what we actually slated for today. But land is filled up, and people are already looking at how do I join. Just follow the stream that we have sent to your email address or share that with somebody. We are live streaming on this particular program on our YouTube page. You can always join us. I know it's going to be, this year is going to be a bumper harvest. If I'm starting the year, having a big week like this to start the year and everybody is actually connecting to us is to tell us that throughout the year, everybody will definitely connect to this program. Permit me to welcome a member of the Governing Council of our great institute, Dr. Mrs. Truth Arokoyo. You have the floor for your question.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning, my chairman.
Good morning, Madam Ruth.
Thank you, sir. We thank the Institute for organizing this program on a monthly basis. And it is good to hear that LRS has gone very far in deploying technology in its processes, especially the e-tax. And we can feel the impact of the efforts, what it has been able to generate. LRS has been able to improve its revenue generation process. And since all subnationals are members of the JTB, I want to ask, what percentage of other subnationals are deploying technology? And is there any effort within the JTB to encourage other subnationals to key into deploying technology so as to improve their revenue generation? Because if we look at what is happening right now, from discussions on the tax reform, it seems to me that so many states are still behind in revenue generation, and maybe they don't even know what they will gain by the reform. So I want to ask, is JTB making any effort to educate them? Okay. That is my question.
Okay,
thank you,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Then Oludolapo Ogunkomi briefly asked a question while Mikhail Olatunji should be ready. Oludolapo, over to you. You are there, unmute yourself and speak.
You've unmuted, so let's hear you. Okay, if Oludolapo is struggling with the network, can we have Mikhail Olatunde?
Ask your question very briefly.
Good morning, the moderator. My name is Mikhail Olatunde, and there are two questions that I want to ask. Number one is about the tax audit. Is it compulsory that a company must pay tax liability when you don't have liability? When you write an objection, IRS insists that you cannot submit an objection without a tax liability. That is number one. Number two, we are supposed to be filing returns, annual returns now, but unfortunately, there are some staffs that did not spend more than 1 or 2 months in an organization, and their payee have been remitted to LRS. But now it is difficult for us to file the returns because majority of them, or some of them, does not have PID. So how do we go about it?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mikhail. I think that addressed the question being raised by Aziz. My EC, you have the floor to respond to that, please.
Okay, thank you very much. for your question, Mikhail. So on this issue of payment of tax liability when there is no liability, it's a situation that occurs all the time. So look at it from this perspective. Every IRS wants to collect taxes on a timely basis. A lot of taxpayers have mastered that technique of avoiding payment by doing what? By objecting to any assessment that comes. Now, objecting to an assessment is like a court injunction. We're expected to try and resolve. Once you object, a trade dispute has arisen, and we are obliged to try and reconcile. So there are all sorts of techniques that are used, aided by a lot of tax consultants, of course, to try and ensure that they drag the matter for years. We are looking at time value of money. We want to generate revenue. We want the money to be meaningful because it's going to be diverted to development of the state. So what we simply say is that some people, even before they have received the assessment, they've objected technically. Before the letter comes, they've written the objection. So they are just waiting for the assessment to come, and then they file the objection. So to try and streamline this, we then had to say that you can object, but why don't you compute the undisputed side of or on remitted liabilities, potential liabilities? Compute it yourself and pay it at least while the reconciliation process is going on. People should not really fall that argument. There might be one or two who genuinely do not have any liability, but it's only the outcome of the reconciliation that can determine that for us. And people, and I tell you, consultants are very guilty of this. They intentionally create that dispute position. So it's deliberate. So from the perspective of the taxpayers, you too try and compute your undisputed part. And if there's any liability ensuing, submit it. Again, even if you don't want to accompany that with payment, at least compute your undisputed liability. You can't just say, I object. You object because you feel like objecting, and you don't want to give us any information on why you're objecting. So that is where the folly is really. So in terms of filing for staff who might have worked for only 2 months, like I said earlier on, one of the benefits of introduction of the e-tax is for you to have seamless interaction with the tax authority without having to talk to anybody. So you are allowed to register your staff. By law, the moment you engage members of the public as staff members, it is expected that you will immediately register them. But for various reasons, a lot of employers are not doing this. They are not registering staff. You spoke about 2 months. There are cases of people who have worked for 1 year and the employer will not register them. So over the years, for instance, with filing, a company can have 100 staff and use one payer ID for 80 members of staff. This sort of practice is not good. What does it take for you to register? You can go online. You don't need anybody to register. So in the case of Mikhail, if you have any clients that are in this position, you have to let them know, educate them. They themselves do not even need tax consultants to register their staff. They can go online and register. It's a seamless process. It takes just minutes. So that's what I would say to that. There should not be the situation whereby you have members of staff, whether they are still there, whether they're not there. Because if you have done what is right in the first place, they would have been registered.
Yeah, maybe in 30 seconds, permit me to respond to Mrs. Arokoyo's question of your input to other subnationals in the area of the this technology that is doing.
Okay.
30 seconds.
Yes. So in terms of deployment of technology, the Joint Tax Board is doing a lot. And I must commend the efforts of the Joint Tax Board in this regard. We are not all equal. we do not have the same amount of resources to invest in infrastructure. It is well recognized. So what JTB is trying to do is to educate, and even in the past, the past chairman of JTB, in the name of Mr. Fowler, he actually went to the extent of actually procuring hardware for some states. And he deployed staff to go and help them in improving on their technology. So the JTB is very, very interested in this. The Presidential Committee is also incorporating this into all the tax laws, the minimum amount of infrastructure that you need to provide. There's also a lot of sessions. They talk to the Nigerian Governors Forum to assist in this regard. Technology is very important. Technology is the future. Technology is taxation. If you do not deploy taxation technology, you are going to have the success of Lagos is there for anybody to look at with continuous deployment of
Sincerely speaking, permit me, my guy, I have to interject you. Time is not our friend. But Ayo, can you just give your last word so that we can round up?
Okay, thank you very much. I think we just want to do your parting shot, the expectation of your office to these tax consultants, our members, and general public that are here in 2025. That's the parting shot, sir.
Okay, so my parting shot is that tax consultants should see themselves as our partners. They're a stakeholder, they're a very important stakeholder in this whole process of growing the culture of taxation, making sure that there's high level of compliance. And with their understanding and cooperation, everybody can move forward. We can make life very easy for all the residents of Lagos, for all the businessmen. All the businessmen just want to do is to get on with their operations and do business and make money. So some of them might see all these tax processes as a distraction. So that's why we have the consultants who can interface, who can interpret all the tax laws, and who can help to make this a seamless effort for everybody. We all stand to benefit.
Okay, thank you very much. What a brilliant and beautiful way to bring the first edition of CITN Taxation and You, put together by the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. A very good big thank you to our guests today, the Executive Chairman, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Ayodele Subal, for a wonderful presentation. In fact, you've given me a good landing to progress in the year 2025 with this number of outcomes that I've seen on this platform, and I'm sure we'll have collaboration in the area of sponsorship. Before we go, I want to specially appreciate the 16th president of our great institute, Mr. Samuel Agbelu, MNI, FCTI, the vice president, who are connected virtually, the member of the governing council of our great institute, for giving us this platform to educate, enlighten, and show more insightful things to the populace. And we promise you that in the year 2025, it's going to be a very wonderful and interactive session. Don't miss it. Every first Thursday of the month, we are out there to give you more expository to issues bordering around taxation. And on that note, we have come to the final of it to say thank you very much. Watch out for the next presentation in the month of February. As I promise you, it's going to be an insightful time. Dr. Ayodeji, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, both Keson and Dr. Ayodeji. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a distinguished platform, and I wish you all the best. And I encourage all the business people in Lagos to join in this bid for sponsorship, because it is only through enlightenment that we can get to do things properly. Thank you for having me. Sorry, Dr. Ayodeji, please.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate you despite your busy schedule.
Thank you for that backup. At least with this now, when you hear the big wigs, give encouragement for those people out there. I expect the sponsorship to come in as much as we have it. Watch out for the next edition, first Thursday in the month of February. Until I see you then, myself and my co-anchor, we wish you the very best in the year 2025. Bye for now.